friends, welcome back to Bit and Bytes Conversations with BYTE Alumni. Today I'm really excited to have one of our best student, Somik Raha, who passed out from BIT from Computer Science and Engineering. He did his Computer Science and Engineering from BIT in the year 1995 to 1999. One thing I remember quickly when I think of Somik was Murugatrishna. I don't know whether you remember it or not, but that was one of the major events that I did when I'm in the beginning of my career, when I just started the Training and Placement Center. 1994, we started the Training and Placement Center at Bangalore Institute of Technology. And in the year, up to the year 1997, we hardly used to get any companies to the campus. That's when we brainstormed why companies are not coming to BIT and how to attract industries to the campus. These kind of things were discussed, and I should remember Dr. R. Venkatram also at this point of time. Professor Venkatram was also my teacher when I was a student, and immediately after joining Dr. Venkatram, myself, we had a lot of brainstorming sessions, and fortunately, we could get about 300 plus volunteers to organize an event, a technical festival called as Murugatrishna, and I'm very happy to say Somik was the key person to organize this event. So that memory I still have very fresh in my mind, and that was a grand success for 3 days. I think 1997, December 26, 27, 28, we did this program. We also got 3 released lines at that point of time. We created a website, we released the results online, and more than 30 companies participated, and we could get a computer to the placement center during that period. And all the prizes were some job opportunities and also some softwares at that point of time, which nobody could imagine. So that was the fresh memory I have. And I also remember Somik was a very focused student. He used to take up small projects at that point of time. Now everybody is talking about artificial intelligence. I think Somik did on artificial intelligence during that time. I think he did project work in CDAC at that point of time when Sam Pitroda was in its peak. And
Center for AI and Robotics in Bangalore.
Yeah, Center for AI and Artificial Intelligence. So these are the things we used. Yeah. So Somik is a distinguished alumnus of BIT, and I welcome Somik to this very interesting conversation, Bit and Bytes. Welcome Somik to BIT again online to have some interactions for the next 30 to 40 minutes on various aspects of your journey after you passed out from BIT. So to begin with, Somik, please, can you remember some incidences, some professors, some classroom sessions where you spent a year in BIT, and how BIT supported you or helped you in becoming what you are now today?
So thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. BIT remains a very, very precious memory for me. It was a very formative experience. I received a lot of love, a lot of support. And you talked about Mrigadrishna. That was a remarkable training ground for me. So now back when I work as a product manager, if you think about what a product manager really needs to know how to do, it's to hustle. It's like nobody understands what you're talking about, but you want to convince them to do it, and you want them to give their time, their money to support some vision, right? So that was what Mrigadrishna was, and I still remember when Dr. Venkatram and you were my mentors, and basically we talked about, hey, what should we do? And I remember being very frustrated one day saying, I go to all these college technical festivals, and I just don't find them high quality. And so I remember Dr. Venkatram said, Somik, why don't you go write a vision? Like what is high quality according to you? What should it be? So I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I wrote it up. And then he said, this is great. And then he came to you and he said, let's do it. And that was it. And I remember there are certain principles that I did not like the idea of student judges, because if you're going to another campus, our peers are judging us and their biases involved. I wanted neutral judges from the industry. And then I wanted the prizes to not be peanuts, but to be pretty significant so it'll help students. So all of those things we pulled off. And I remember every step of the way, perhaps the most important thing was you and Dr. Venkatram, your team believed in us. You never said, "Oh, this will not work." You always said, "Oh, let's do it." And I will never forget that we went to the principal at that time, and he nobody had come up with a proposal like this, like ever. So he was very skeptical. He said, "Look, I know what will happen. You guys will run out of money. Then the college will have to put the money in. So I want a personal guarantee, bank guarantee from both of you." And so you and Dr. Venkatram gave that guarantee. And I remember that really weighed heavy on me, that I didn't want your personal money to go for the festival. So our volunteers, that really inspired us to work very hard. And it just makes me very proud that we were able to raise enough money to gift the computer and the printer to the placement center. Now, of course, the computer printer may not be much, but at that time it was so precious. It was a very sweet memory. So I feel like that was very formative. And I also remember Nanda Gopal's in computer science, and just the conversations with him, like, he just talked to us like peers, and just had good dialogue. Like, I remember a debate with him where I wanted a Windows based experience with a WYSIWYG editor for programming, and he tried to explain to me, no, you have to learn Unix, and you have to understand where these things come from. And because of that, I became extreme. That really helped me out in my career. I started out as a software engineer, a programmer, and I still use what I learned in BIT to this day. I can go into VI editor and just find my way, no problem. So there are such wonderful memories all through. Like every, friendships. I think students learn as much from teachers as they learn from their peer community, and I learned a lot from my peers as well. So they're all wonderful people. So very, very good memories. I wish everybody has that same support that I received, because that support really builds confidence, that not being told that this will not fly, but being given the wings to fly. It's a very special blessing.
Yeah, thanks, Somik, for remembering. I also remember for doing your project work. We also made available some computing facility at the placement center after the
Yes.
working hours.
Yes, we did so much research, anything I wanted to do, research. Yeah, here is the facility. And then at that time, I remember there was a mechanical engineering lab, which was the first of its kind with the best machines. And I was in computer science. I was like attracted like a magnet. Good computers. I want to be there. And that's when I also learned to hustle. Like I told the HOD of Mac, hey, are you sure you're protected from viruses? And he was, worried about it. So I said, look, I will clean your computers. I'll come every week and I will check. In return, if you can just let me in the off hours, just use the computers. And he said, sure. And that really helped. I remember that relationship became very mutually beneficial, because I think this Professor Gurudat was teaching something about a particular joint. I forget the name. It's like a C joint or something. And he was finding it difficult to explain it to students. And at that time, 3D Studio Max had just come out. And I had the manual. I started learning how to use it. And we built an animation that he could then use to show students, oh, this is how the joint works. So I feel like, and the reason I'm sharing this is, students who watch this, they should just feel like they're empowered to hustle. Like, go to your professors, go to your labs, see what they need. Everybody has problems. Maybe you can solve some of them. And maybe you will learn, not only will you learn, you might also get a lot out of this. So that's been my full experience all through in BIT. All kinds of, we went to competitions. We always got computing facilities from you. There was one computer, we said we'll use it after hours when the office shuts down. Can you give us? And I remember you gave us the keys, placement center, and we were able to compete in these IIT competitions, building software. So tremendous support we had, and it's very special, because if you have 50 computers, you give me one, it's one thing. If you have only one computer and you give me that one computer, that's what BIT was at that. And that spirit, I celebrate that spirit. That was really special.
Yeah, I think I also remember you won some prize in IIT Bombay during that period for some presentation.
So I'll correct the record on that one. I did go to IIT Bombay, but the prize was won by my peer colleague Prakash Chugh,
Okay,
who made fantastic software.
okay.
He built it on electronic simulation. You could build circuits on
Mhm.
the computer instead of in real life and see how it would work.
Okay, okay.
He and actually Joshua, I think,
Thank you,
they were two.
Somik. Somik Raha was a very interesting student, used to take a lot of initiatives and involve in many activities, bring all the students together for conducting many activities. Mukhrishna is one major event, but he has taken initiative in developing the training and placement center also, I can say, along with many other friends. I think that batch 95 to 99 batch of students, I am very close to my heart because those were the formative days where placement center in any private engineering college was unheard of. And we started with a big bang and we could attract many companies after Krishna continuously to recruit students from BIT. And after his graduation from BIT, from Computer Science and Engineering, he moved on to do his MS and PhD from Stanford University. And Somik, please tell us something, the kind of education systems that we had here in BIT, in India in general. And as soon as you went to outside India for doing your MS and PhD, what was the major difference you could find? And if there is anything to change in our systems or any new things we can adapt from the foreign university that you studied. Please say something about the education systems here and there.
It's a very good and difficult question to answer, sir, because a lot of people spend their entire career studying education systems, and we still don't know exactly what to adopt for the quote unquote perfect education. So I don't think that's an easy question to answer. But what I will say is each one is different, and there are certain things that have really helped me. So in BIT, it was the personal mentorship, it was the support, and what I learned, in fact, very early on, I just took charge of my education at BIT. Like I did not think that the professors were responsible for my education. I felt I was responsible, and the professors were my helpers. So that's why BIT was, it was like a rocket for me. Whatever I wanted to do, I was like, there's nobody tell me you can't do it. In fact, everybody said, what do you need? I'll give you, right? And if we have educational experiences for students where they come in realizing they are the leaders of their education and the faculty is here to support, but they're not here to educate them. That's a fundamental mind shift that I already had at BIT, right? And my peers also, I think, had that. And so they've all benefited so much. Now at Stanford, I think Stanford is a very, very wonderful, wonderful university and has been around for a while. And I think the big thing I will say that really I appreciate about Stanford is that people have spent their entire lives doing and teaching things that they're deeply passionate about. Not necessarily every single person, but a large number of the professors have established their own fields. And I think the focus and investment in research, original research, is a pretty significant difference. So if you want to go deep, that investment is a must. And that investment means that you would have to create centers of excellence. Now, it's not possible for a university to go deep in every single thing you can think of, which is why you will see universities have some universities are very good in one thing, some are very good in other things. And so I think that's one thing to think about, that what would be a center of excellence that's natural in each college's context, that we should invest and build it. And the second thing I will say, not everybody takes advantage of this at Stanford, but again, I had the attitude that I'm here to learn. I'm not going to just go by the syllabus that Stanford's giving me, same attitude as BIT. So the one thing that was very important to me was Stanford's got a huge, wonderful humanities track. So I took that track. I said, I'm an engineer. but I don't believe you can be a good engineer if you don't learn something about the humanities. So I went to the School of Education and I studied qualitative research and also I took some other classes as well on diversity, understanding and appreciating what it means to work with a diverse group of people. So those were very formative, helpful classes. In addition to the foundational stuff, and the foundational stuff changed my life. The work on decision analysis at Stanford University, it's in the next several hundred years, people will realize how fundamental and how foundational it was. In fact, 2 years back, I had the good fortune of coming back and doing a workshop for BIT using and bringing those ideas, decision analysis and probability theory. If there was one area where I feel we really must invest, and that's universal for every college in India, it would be in decision-making skills. And we've made a significant dent in how to help people make good decisions. In fact, my book is also very much situated in that space because everybody has to make decisions. How do we help people make better decisions? If we can focus on that, our entire society will advance in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, thank you, Somik. I remember after your MS, I think in decision analysis, during a PhD or just before PhD, you had visited BIT and you you started off the program with a meditation to all the participants. And the education system, the basic education system in India, the Gurukul system, I don't know whether all these have impacted your thought process and maybe the writing of the book, which we will be discussing mainly today, Invaluable, the value system and other things, has given some idea. And from the beginning, I've been observing you of a student who is not normally going with the crowd. You always think separately, think differently, and giving value to the value systems of our culture. The family system, the combined family system, these kind of things. We will discuss that a little later. And as you completed your degrees, education, you became a product leader. You worked on various companies on these things, and in fact, in one of our interaction, myself, you and Dr. Venkatram, we went to a hospital to interact with some of the organizers of the hospital. How we can merge technology and health together and give a better impact or better solutions. So you completely look in different directions. Now all of us are talking about technology and health should go together, and interdisciplinary research, interdisciplinary providing solutions, computer science graduate and a mechanical come together. And you have been doing this from your school days. So I think you are 10 to 15 years ahead of what others think, according to me. Now, what do you say? What made you to be like that? Can you say a few things, the background of your family, your parents, and how you're interested in these aspects?
And this is one of the great mysteries. Very difficult to answer that question, but I do remember. In BIT, when you have distinguished members from the industry come and they would talk. I would be the student asking questions from him, and they would say, "Oh, we are doing this, we are doing that," and I would take the mic and say, "But you're not doing any research. You are saying R&D. There is no R in your R&D." And then the person would get defensive, saying, "Oh, but we have to do our job." I was like, "Well, you have to do your job, but you're not contributing. Why are you not doing it?" So I would always ask the most horrible questions as a student. I would encourage anybody watching this as students. That's the one time in your life you have permission. You have no, constraints. Ask your speakers, push them hard. And so this idea of wanting more and wanting better things, wanting better solutions. I don't know. It's difficult to answer where it comes from, but I would say that I come from a family of lawyers. So my father is a lawyer, my sister is a lawyer, my mother's father was a lawyer and judge. My mother did her master's in Sanskrit philosophy. So we were always surrounded in a debate culture. Like there's no easy argument. Like there's argument and counter argument in the family all the time. So maybe that rubbed off. And so I'm the one non-lawyer in the family in some sense. So I chose computer science, which is, if you're interested in logic, either law or computer science, those are your options. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But I just feel that there is something about the human spirit that wants to fly. And whatever we pick, whichever branch of engineering we pick, it's a medium to really do something amazing. And why should you not do something amazing? So somehow it just felt like, yeah, hey, you could do this. Why don't we do it? Why not? If you're alive, we might as well have some fun, right? Why should we want to have a boring life if we're not contributing? So I don't have a better answer than that. But I feel like if every one of the students who is watching this, the world needs you. I won't even say that your country needs you. The world needs people to come alive. That's why I wrote this book, because one of the biggest problems is you graduate, you've checked all the boxes in the syllabus, and then you get the job you want, you're getting good salary, good title, you have your family, everything is looking good on paper, but inside people feel hollow. And when they feel hollow, there comes a point when people burn out and they feel like they can't work. And then what do people do? Then they go for meditation, they go for spirituality, they go for something outside of work. Okay, you can do that, you will feel better. And then Monday morning comes, you have to come back to the same workplace, you have to see the same group of people, same metrics. Again, and now your trauma will increase because you know there is a whole world outside of the work you're doing, but here you have to come back and make sense of this. So unless we can repair our relationship with our work, unless we can bring our spirit into our work, work will not be magical. And for me, I guess, I mean, you're pointing to a very interesting thread. I guess I've always found the magic, whether it was as a student or in the professional world. There's so much to enjoy, right? So much to be excited about. And that, you may not have a big bank balance, but you can be rich in life if you have those wonderful experiences of joy. A person who's got a lot of joy in their life, in my books, that person is rich. And a person who may have a lot of money, a lot of titles, but no joy, that person is very poor. I would like everybody to be rich, with joy.
Yeah, Somik, I think you answered my question well in advance. My next question was supposed to ask you about the mindset or attitude of the present day students. We were trying to get companies for getting jobs to the students in the 90s and early 2000. And today the complete ecosystem is different in the country where everybody wants to become entrepreneur, and there are a lot of opportunities for the startups and funding and all those things. But if you interact with many of these young next gen graduates, making an enterprise is one thing, and in the heart of it, all of them want to become successful. Successful in the sense, make a lot of money. So I also very attracted by the warning that you posted on your social media about the book. This book is dangerous. You might stop comparing yourself to others. Financial wealth may no longer be your primary matter of marker of success, and you might count value very differently. You might even enjoy your work. So success, the measure of success is not money. That's what I could understand from this warning. But the present day generation, how do they take it? How do they digest this? Because now for the whole world, the next Z is all behind the packages. Even when they join companies, earlier if they stay for 10 years, 15 years, they were valued, they were considered as asset to an organization. Today, you find very difficult to have an employee, retaining an employee for a longer period of time. Maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, they quit and join some other company, what they call it as better opportunities. Better opportunities in terms of money, I don't know. So how do you, from the background of your book, how do you address this issue of the younger next gen, the success? Is it name, fame, or money, or something else beyond all this?
So this is a very deep question. I think I'm not going to sit in judgment of anybody who decides to purely pursue money, but I also don't think where I've met a lot of people who say that they are working for money, but when I ask them some deeper questions, and this is in the first chapter, the simple test saying that look, if you are saying you're working for money, I have a deal for you. I will give you your salary for the next 10, 15, 20 years, your productive life, but in return, you cannot work. You're going to be in for non-stop vacation. You'll get your salary, but you can't work. Will you take the deal? And more, I've not met a single person who said, yes, I will take it. And that means that they're misspeaking. They think they're working for money, but if I stop that person from working with the money, give them the money, they won't take it. That means people are motivated by a little bit more than money. Then the second reason people give why they say the purpose of business. What is the purpose of business? By the way, interesting thing, nobody will define this. Okay, even in business school, they assume everybody knows this. So in my chapter 1 is all about this. Well, the first they say profitability, which I've taken down by saying I'll give you the money, you won't take it. Second is shareholder value creation. Okay, if you say that is the purpose of business, that is a little bit like saying my purpose of my life is to make my bankers happy. Nobody will say that. They will say it sounds silly. No, purpose of my life is not to make my bankers happy. Yes, I should return the money. My purpose of life is much bigger than that. So when people hear that, then they say, oh, yes, I've not thought deeply enough about this. So then the conversation begins. Well, what is the purpose of business then? And Henry Ford said this very nicely. Henry Ford is considered the father of American industry, founder of Ford Motor. And he said that a business that doesn't make money will go out of business, naturally. But if a business's purpose is only to make money, then also it should go out of business because it's lost the reason for its existence. In other words, the business has to stand for something, and money is an instrumental value, meaning it is necessary to do what you're trying to do, but it's not the reason you're doing it. And Walt Disney put it even better. He said, I don't make movies to make money. I make money to make movies. And that order is extremely important, right? It's like the cart before the horse if you're not clear on this. So I feel that that's something people will be well advised to think about. Yes, you should make lots of money. I wish you make lots of money. But what are you making the money for? Are you clear on that? And if you're not clear on that, at some point, that question will catch up with you. And it'll catch up in all kinds of unexpected ways. So that's when people get into what many people call a midlife crisis. So a midlife crisis is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. Anybody who's having a crisis, some people get that midlife crisis, an early life crisis, when they're like, hey, I can't enter this industry because it doesn't make sense to me. So it happened to my sister, actually. She went to law school, and instead of taking a plum corporate law job, I still remember, she wrote a letter to the family saying, I can't see myself in this space. My heart is in social justice issues, is in helping those who don't have any legal resources. So will you please support me? I'm going to dedicate my life to that. So that was a long time back. And now I'm very proud to say that she has made a career focusing on child and women's rights and disabled people's rights in India and doing legal research in that space. So that was the clarity. She had the crisis other people have much later in life. She had that before she graduated. I had that feeling when I was graduating that I wanted to do research. I could not imagine a life without research and innovation. So that to me is very important because it shows that you're alive. If you're not having a crisis, it means you don't really have any evidence that you're living because this world doesn't make any sense. And if you're not shocked by that, if you're not saying what the heck is going on, you're walking through life sleeping. This world is crazy. So there should be some recognition of that at some point. So I would say that's one starting point of the inquiry. And then a second point is very quickly you'll get to the question of, okay, so what should success be for me? Now that I'm shocked by what's going on around me, how should I measure my success? And this is where the book is very counterculture. The book is not saying that I'm going to tell you your marker of success. The book is saying that I'm going to shut up and listen to you, and I'm going to give you some tools so you can listen to yourself to figure out what that is. And that is going to require a little bit of hard work because when you start listening, you cut through the noise in the surface level and you go deep. And there are certain things you find, and I'm using the language of values. And by values, people think honesty, integrity. Those are important. Those are universal values. By values, I mean something different. I mean what's important for you, uniquely you. And that uniqueness is so special that if you find it, it will make you feel complete. What is that? And I have some vectors in which I map that out. So I have three vectors when students are thinking about this. First vector is your heart, your emotional energy. What is it that is so uniquely inspiring to you that it makes you emotional? And the next person is not going to get as emotional about this as you are. And so some good questions to think about are, if this were the last day of your life on this planet, what is it, what work is it that if it didn't happen, you would regret it? Okay. And if it was completed, you would feel like you could go in peace. What is that? Now, some people cannot fully answer this question, so they might try a different one. A different one would be, what makes you angry? Not small angry, but big angry about the world. And that is a very big clue that your heart is there. So that's your emotional energy vector. Okay. Then the second vector is your superpower, your unstoppable energy. And that's what we call in the book habit. And habit is like, it's your oldest habit that you can't even trace why this happened. But you show up and this energy shows up. Okay. And to, what is my habit? My habit is, challenging the status quo. As a lot of the conversation that Aswath was asking me about, it's like, I don't know how I was wired this way, but if I'm not challenging something and helping change something, then it's like, why am I even here? That's not my role in life. My role is to bring change. And now, of course, the other part of the habit is it's your biggest blessing. It's also your biggest curse because you can't turn it off and it can get you into trouble. So if I'm in an environment where change is not welcome, I will be in big trouble. So then the third vector is head. Head is the most important one in some sense because it's the place where you show up to do your work. It's your intellectual energy. And that's the only one which we can shape with our hard work. So heart is to be discovered, habit is to be discovered, but head you can shape. So if I'm creating a context where my heart is respected and my habit, my superpower is legitimized, meaning I can use it as an asset and not a liability, then I can do something really interesting. So that's what I'm doing with my head, something deeply attractive to me that, yes, I want to work in this. In my case, it's values-based decision making. And that's my head. Like I can write a book. I mean, I've written the book on this in some sense in this book, and I can give a talk on this. So each person, you may have your own intellectual space. You may one day write a book on this. You may give a talk. You may teach a class. That's the head. So you take this head, heart, and the habit together. That's your values DNA. And the test for this is if all three were to come together in your work, you would feel deeply understood. You will feel complete in some sense. And this is the kind of joy that cannot be described. It can be felt, but it's not like the same joy as eating a burger or an ice cream. It's very different. It's like a fulfilling, a completeness kind of experience. And that's very, very special.
Now, I came to know that this book, Invaluable, is you have written after your PhD. Your PhD is also on decision analysis. Making a decision is not so easy. And it is about decision analysis. So after making the decision, how to analyze that, or before making a decision, analyze and take a decision. I don't know what is that about, but that led to your book Invaluable. Now everybody talks about making business and then creating value system. I was closely in touch with the corporate world also because I was also involved in the training and placement and understanding the company's cultures and preparing the students to adapt to that culture, transition from the industry, from the academic to industry and all those things. So I've been observing the various cultures of different countries, and when especially a team consists of different nationals, this conflicts normally happen. Now we talk about business, we talk about value system, we talk about philosophy, and in many times the Indian philosophy or Indian value system is helping our Indian graduates to perform better and understand the scenarios, the cases in the industry, and they are in a better place to give solutions or making decisions for the problems that are facing. So, in this background, why somebody has to read your book invaluable? Will it give any inputs to the readers to get deep into the value system and how to relate the value system to making business?
Is your question why should we use any kind of formal decision analysis tool?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is a really good question, and uh, most people think that they make great decisions, but a lot of research has happened in the last 50, 60 years where we've studied how people make decisions. And what we have found is a very famous name, Amos Tversky and his collaborator Daniel Kahneman. And they found that we human beings suck at making good decisions. We systematically underestimate or misunderstand uncertainty. We have all kinds of biases. There's hundreds of biases now well documented. And basically, it all looks hopeless. In fact, Danny Kahneman got a Nobel Prize for this research. So the question is, what do you do then? And so decision analysis is the only way we know how to make good decisions, especially when the outcomes are not clear. So that is the first principle of decision analysis, that you cannot judge the quality of a decision from the quality of the outcome. And when I first heard this, I remember going up to Professor Ronald Howard at Stanford University saying, Professor Howard, this is what we learn about in India, in the Indian philosophical texts. And he said, yeah, but they don't tell you how to apply this in finance. And here we worked out the details. I was shocked when he said that. So that got me into the field. And I realized that what he had done, this is the mechanism that all major American companies in oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, and aviation, there's no other way to do this. When you make big bets, and pharmaceuticals, for instance, it will take you 10 years to find out any kind of return on your investment. And in fact, people will retire after they've decided to invest in research in a drug. So how do you know they made a good decision? And you cannot say it's from the outcome, because then you can't make any decisions. The outcome will come 10 years later. So this is the only way we have found of knowing that we made a good decision. And so when I saw this, I really got deeper into this, and I realized that Ron Howard was an intensely he's an intensely philosophical person. So what he had managed to do was he had combined philosophical thinking, in fact, a lot of Eastern influences, like detachment. The concept of detachment is very big in decision analysis. But he didn't give a lecture on spirituality or philosophy. He brought it into the mathematics. So decision analysis has this concept called certain equivalent. And this is a concept that economists will know as expected value. The concept is very simple. You have a 50-50 shot of making 100 rupees versus nothing. The economist would say the deal like this is worth 50 rupees. It's the expected value is 50 rupees. But the problem is you will never get 50 rupees. You will either get 100 rupees or you will get nothing. Okay. So the use of the word expected is a big problem. And Eastern traditions say you should not have expectations. So what Ron Howard did was he called this certain equivalent, meaning if you had 50 rupees for certain, you would be indifferent between 50 rupees or this deal. It's the value of the deal. And so very important language differences, but it keeps your thinking straight. So things like this are all over the place in the mathematics of decision analysis, which is why I found it fascinating. And so my work is really situated in that context, that how does the math express your spirit? And by the way, this is not something new, okay? So I'll give you a simple example. We all study basic, like when our children have studied this in school, zero, the number is zero. So when I ask children now, I sometimes go to schools and talk to them, and they say, hey, zero, what do you think? Is it empty or is it full? They all say, oh, zero is empty. Okay. But you do realize that zero is what you get when you add every single number you can imagine, positive and negative. If you miss any number in that addition, you will not get a zero. So now, is zero empty or is it full? And they all say, oh, it looks like it is also full. It is empty and it is full. And now where did this stuff come from? And then you go deeper. There's a chapter 0 in the book. It turns out that in our Upanishads, there is a poem which of course, Upanishads, many people treat this in all kinds of ways, but I like to use it as a computer scientist from the materialist lens. And I look at it as just look at the poem for what it is. It says, Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. That is whole, this is whole, from that wholeness comes this wholeness. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. When you take wholeness away from wholeness, what remains is wholeness. Now, every culture on this planet, their symbol for wholeness is a circle. So that circle is also the symbol for nothingness, for zero. So if you look at this poem, you parameterize wholeness and you substitute nothingness, what you get is that is nothing, this is nothing, from nothing comes nothing. Nothing comes from nothing is the foundation for physics. If you violate this principle, you cannot get physics of our time today. Okay, and the last line of this poem becomes, when nothing is taken away from nothing, what remains is nothing. Again, do another parameterization and replace nothing with zero. When zero is taken away from zero, what remains is zero. This is the first equation on zero that we can find, and who knows when this was written. It's so ancient. And we have never stopped to admire it. Wow, this is amazing. What were they thinking? And these were our ancient ancestors. And I wouldn't even say, this is the world heritage. India has given this to the world. It's not just Indian. This is the world's to take. That these people were coming from a civilization that had 7, not one. Like you have one good river, you have a civilization. We had 7. And so they had a lot of food. So they had time to think and become philosophers. And so they were reflecting about wholeness and nothingness, and they came up with a zero. And if they did not come up with a zero, you would not have computers, because computers is based on zeros and ones, right? And you'd be stuck with the poor Romans, the Roman numerals, how difficult it was to do addition with that. It's crazy. Like there'd be still, you need special consultants just to do mathematical addition. So this contribution is both philosophical and it is foundational in anything that you're doing in materialism. So my book is counterculture in that this book is not saying bring spirituality into your work. It's the opposite. It's saying, no, we're going to use the religion of materialism, which is counting, and we will find that counting is intensely philosophical. And from it, we will draw answers. So that every chapter starts with a puzzle from the wisdom traditions, and the answer comes from the accountant's religion of counting. It's a rebellious book in that sense. And there's a reason for this. I'll just mention this. The reason I did it in that way is, if I'm going to tell you that the answers will come from some wisdom tradition, then you will have to take a retreat. You have to come back on Monday morning to your workplace. So all the answers have to come from the workplace, from metrics and counting. Otherwise, it's like I have to go outside of work. That's the boundary I've created. I want to stay within the work context to find my answers.
When I was going through the book, the traditional way of writing any technical book is different. And the approach that you have adapted, you have case studies, you have poetry in between, you have, just now you also mentioned some Sanskrit shlokas. I don't know where all this has come to you. You have become an all-rounder. Normally, when I was a student, from that day, if I see a textbook and the author of the book is considered on a very high platform, he has been a very experienced one to write a textbook, almost a value like a god, the authors. So I was telling about this to the other alumnus of ours, Vidya also. Now, I've also learned that you have taken almost about 12 years to complete this book. 12 years is a long period. And if I allow you to talk, you will talk maybe at least for 6 months about your book. That is the kind of experience that you have gone through while writing the book. As teachers, we also take a lot of time to explain in the classroom. But the retention time in the present day students, they say about 7 minutes. So I don't have so much of time for you to explain completely about your book. Give me a summary of your book in 12 years. What preparations you have made and what are the things that you want to convey to the readers about the deep thoughts or objectives of your book.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was 12 plus 4 years of PhD, so 16 years in total. Right? And so if I'll just give you very simple, 2 or 3 frameworks. So when tomorrow morning when you wake up, what should be different about your life? So very simple fact. If you had to just explain this in 5 minutes, okay, it's this: you will go, your whoever is watching, the students, you will go to your workplace. Either it's a for-profit or it's a non-profit. And if it's a for-profit, they will say, double my revenues, double my profits. And if it's non-profit, they'll say, double my impact. So the problem with these statements is nobody knows how to do it, right? So, and I'll give you a simple example. Ashwath sir, what is your favorite fruit?
Yeah, I'll say mango.
Mango, okay. So if somebody says, I want lots of mangoes, you are not going to get lots of mangoes. If you want lots of mangoes, then you have to look at input metrics. Mangoes are outputs.
What are the inputs here? Like,
What soil are you using?
what is the quality of the seed?
Are you watering at the right time? Are you planting in the right season? As a student of nature, a lot of us come, ancestral heritage is farming. So people have this intuitive understanding of nature. So that is also true in organizations. We know that certain things work well. We have an intuitive sense of it. Those are our inputs. So design metrics around doing more of value creating behavior, not on the outputs. And so I'll give you a simple example again. So we brush our teeth twice a day. Okay. The number 2, which is the count of how many times you've brushed, is very helpful to get you to brush. It's the action of brushing that creates the value of dental health, which is what you're after. But you cannot measure dental health. You can say, oh, how many cavities does a person have? If 2 people have the same number of cavities, you can't distinguish. Then you go to x-rays. But it gets complicated very fast. Instead, keep it simple. How many times did you brush? It drives the productive action to brush. It's the action that creates the value, not the metric. The metric drives the action. Action creates the value. When the value comes, then everybody can do some kind of accounting. Okay, like, oh, maybe a metric, accounting metric might be, oh, I don't have to do anything major, like root canal or whatever. So profit and impact are like that everybody can do accounting when the value is created, but that metric is not going to help you create the value. So tomorrow when you go to your workplace, ask yourself, yes, you want these outputs, but do you have any idea what the input metric should be? What actually is useful behavior? And are we creating metrics that drive that? That's number 1. Number 2, so you want to optimize. So you say, what do you want to optimize? I come up with some idea. How do you know that's the right thing to optimize? Well, there, if you go to chapter 3 in the book, there's a very important framework by Robert Hartman, who escaped Nazi Germany before it became Nazi Germany. And his work was to give us a framework to judge how we are counting things. And in this framework, there are 3 dimensions. And he defined these as principles or axioms, meaning you don't have to prove this.
If you accept these axioms,
Everything follows. So the first is intrinsic values. They're defined as an end in themselves, and they're defined as life itself. Okay. Extrinsic is a means to an end, and it has a physical space-time reality. Like this computer, this table has an extrinsic value. It has a reality. Third is systemic, completely artificial. Anything you count is systemic. Okay. Then he also said these 3 things, you can experience them in 3 dimensions. So
intrinsic valuation.
is I can't separate from myself. It's a part of me. Extrinsic is strictly separable, and systemic is most objective. Okay. So now with this simple framework, instead of me telling anybody what to do, they can judge what they're doing. So for instance, nowadays in the realm of social media, a very important metric is how many followers do you have? Well, when you use this framework, you say, oh, for how many followers? That sounds like a metric. A metric is very clear. It's a construct. Therefore, it's not intrinsic value. It's not extrinsic. It doesn't have any physical reality. It's systemic value. It's the third dimension. It's the least rich. Okay. How am I valuing it? Now, if I say, oh, this is a part of my identity, I will be depressed if I have very few followers. What I've just done is I've given an intrinsic valuation to a systemic value. And I've devalued my own life, which is intrinsically valuable. So this is a very simple framework. Whenever you're counting something, ask yourself, where does this land and how am I valuing it? And it'll guide you in, oh, if you really value life intrinsically, you don't want to dehumanize. So anytime you do population statistics, you are reducing a rich human life to a single number. So this was Hartman's contribution. The last framework is Hartman was a little bit critical about,
Devaluing human life with systemic values.
but there is an exception where you can sometimes use systemic values to connect you to life. And those I am calling in the book numinous metrics. When you find them, they dance with aliveness. So I'll give you two examples. One is of a school doing a fundraiser. So this is my daughter's private school. When she was in private school for the first 3 years of her schooling. And we'd already paid the fees. They felt like a lot. And then the school did a fundraiser. And one of the parents called me and said, Somik, it's fundraiser time. You're part of the community. We want you to contribute. And my first reaction was, oh, this year's been hard. I don't know if I have something to give. And he's like, no, Somik, you're not understanding. Your check size has no relevance in this conversation. It can be $10, it can be $1,000. What we
Want to optimize for is percentage participation.
you are a part of the community. We want you to express that by giving whatever you wish. And our goal is 100% participation, not how much you give. And when he said that, a huge boulder lifted off my shoulders. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm part of the community. I ended up giving more than I thought I would. And then I'm driving into the school every day and I'm noticing they have a huge board which says 80% participation, 85%, 90%, and the goal is 100%. Were to use the metric amount of money raised, that means there are some big people and small people because not everybody can contribute in the same way. But if you use the metric percentage participation, everyone's equal. They've got the same voice. And it immediately inspires you saying, yeah, I am part of this community. It's a wonderful numinous metric because it connects you to the underlying value that has a sense of aliveness in it. So this is one example. I'll stop with the last one, which is a U.S. general who was asked to judge the success of their effort in Afghanistan. How do they know they're succeeding while they were there? And he thought of many metrics, and one of them was how many enemies we have killed. But if the whole country is, or large part of the country is against you, then how many people can you kill? Like it's just, it's not a great metric. The second is, can people go from point A to point B safely? That also had its problems. And ultimately, he landed on one metric, which was shocking to me. He realized that when people feel safe, they will send their sons to school. But when they really, really feel safe, they will send their daughters. So his metric was how many girls are going to school. And if they saw significant numbers there, that means peace had come in that region. And that blew my mind that you don't expect a general to have this kind of a metric. It was very inspiring. It was not something I expected. So let me stop and see what questions you have.
Somik, very interesting to talk about your book. Due to the time restrictions that we have, I would also like to share a few things about BIT, what's happening here, because you are one of our distinguished alumnus. This year, in the 24th BTU convocation, BIT got 10 gold medals and 19 ranks, one of the highest in the university. That is good news. And the 10 gold medals is to computer science. Her name is G. Vishnupriya, first rank in computer science, and 10 gold medals to Vishnupriya computer science branch. And BIT consistently getting good number of ranks in the university. So that is good news to share with you. And now this is also a period where we are also in transition from the affiliated system. From this year onwards, we are going to be autonomous under BTU. So more flexibility in curriculum design, more involvement of all the alumnus in the curriculum design and development, and giving exposure. So many times all the bodies like AICTE, university, even in the industry, the participation of all this in the curriculum development is increasing day by day. And everybody talks about experiential learning. And I find some relevance in this experiential learning and your book invaluable. So when you read your book, it will give you a lot of thoughts, lot of different dimensions and understanding of principles and concepts, and definitely it will also help in creating some experiential experiences for the students. I recommend strongly to all the viewers, my students and my faculty members, to read your book, Invaluable. And I'm also looking forward for all our alumnus to participate in the development of the institution. So to close, as a concluding remarks, what would you like to say about your book? And also, what would you like to say about BIT for the next generation? The future students who would like to come and study in BIT.
So first of all, congratulations to Vishnupriya for the amazing performance. I think that's wonderful to hear. And second, I would say that we are not limited by labels. We are not limited by degrees. We are only limited by our imagination. So I would tell the next generation of students that BIT has now a history of supporting their students, a history of supporting and helping their students fly, and really wanting that. Like there's that hunger, a lot of other institutions may have a lot of on the ground good facilities, but I look for the spirit. Is the spirit hungry? Is the spirit going to make use of this? And I think my personal experience has been tremendously supported by this institution. So as long as that spirit remains alive, there is no stopping the student who comes to BIT. Now, if they come in and think the institution is going to give them the perfect experience and then they will get a job and it's all sorted, then that would be very unfortunate. Instead, I would encourage them to have the attitude that each student is unique. They must understand what they value. And then they need to see, who do I need to go talk to? How do I need to get help? But getting help is also a skill set. You need to first be able to externalize. So, you said, what do I want to say about the book? This book is not about bring values into your life. It's the opposite. You already have the values. This book is about how do you tell other people about what your values are so they can help you and be a part of your journey. So that's what BIT is here to do. You don't need my book for this. Go to my website, the book website. It's invaluablebook.org. And there is the main framework of questions for mapping yourself. It's in chapter 6. If you look in the resources, you can just download it. You don't need to buy the book for that. But work with those questions and see what comes up for you and get to know yourself. When you've invested in yourself, then you can talk to a professor and say, this is who I am. This is who I want
To be.
and this is what I'd like to do. Can you help me? And then everybody will know where to begin the conversation with you. If you're not designing your educational experience with that goal in mind, then you're not taking full advantage of the 4 years of precious
Investment.
I'm not even counting the money that your parents are going to pay for your education. I'm talking about 4 years of your precious life, which will never come back. Make it count. I made every single second count. I know my peers did too. And we just, that's why it's such a precious memory. But then not everybody does it that way. And then, undergrad is like nothing special. Don't live life that way is what I would say. Make it special. And this is, of course, as you can tell, maybe other people outside of BIT will also watch this. This is not limited to BIT. You could be that person, unique person, anywhere you go. And you will find that your uniqueness inspires educators wherever you are, whichever institution you are in. Take that attitude. And also try to learn what is unique about your professors. Each professor has also followed their own path. And your uniqueness meets somebody's uniqueness, some magic can come out of it. That is what I would recommend. Make your life count.
Yeah, I would like to close by quoting one of the comment on this book and on the author about this book. This book is not an easy read. It makes you think hard, work hard, reflect hard, but it guides you along through a wonderful collection of case examples from business, decision analysis, and Indian philosophy. Somik Raha has written an invaluable book for any decision maker in a business or otherwise who cares deeply about getting more of what you want by doing what makes sense and feels right. So one of the best compliment you can have about your book, and I'm very happy. And we have all encouragement and congratulations to you. And we wish all of us from Bangalore Institute of Technology, and as you said, not limited to Bangalore Institute of Technology, all of us from India, we wish you to write more and more books like this with lots of philosophy, lot of value systems, so that the next generation will adapt some of the value systems of our culture and contribute and make a society, a happier society and a better place to live in. With that note, I would like to thank Somik for your time and sharing your experiences about your book and otherwise. Thank you very much once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this invaluable chat. Appreciate it. It's just so special to talk to you.
Friends, that was Somik Raha. Always, I love to have more and more interactions with him. Maybe shortly we will have another interaction with him on probability and statistics, another dimension of his expertise with some of our mathematics professors. Shortly we'll fix the date and we will announce to all of you. So, friends, Bit and Bytes is an interactive program with our alumni continuously to understand the struggles they have gone through, the happier times, the not so happier times, the transition from the academics to the industry, the earlier period of their presence in the industry, and how they have grown and made a mark in the industry. And it is all a proud moment for all of us from faculty here at BYTE, and we always enjoy and cherish the memories that we have spent together and their happier times. If all our alumni are doing well in the industry, that is the best thing that any organization can expect. And I am proud that I have a huge number of students who are doing very well, and not only doing very well for themselves, but contributing to the society, making a difference in the society as per our value system and philosophy of Indian heritage, Indian culture. I'm so proud to be part of the journey of so many students, and I'm lucky to be here. Next week, we will come back with another episode of Bit and Bytes. Till then, thank you and goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.